What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique, aka Unique Mazique. I am the hardest working man in sports and gaming. I'm actually one of the most fatigued working men in sports and video gaming today. I had to take me a little bit of a power nap before I started the stream today. Would have been started a little bit earlier uh, if that wasn't the case. I want to make sure, we kind of do our little audio checks here. Yeah, we are good. So we don't want to double up. So, how's everybody doing? I'm hoping everybody is having a strong Monday so far. It is Monday. I feel like I'm losing thoughts on what day is what at this point. But I see we got a few people pouring in. What's up to everybody? Everybody that comes in, I'll let you guys know now. And maybe if you guys can pop it in the chat as we go on for people who may join in a little bit later, letting you guys know I won't really be, once I start to go through the questions, probably won't be going through the chat as much. So yeah, I just wanted to let that be known. But Scorpion King 3, I see you. Red Steel, what's going on? Christopher Stoudemire. Yeah, we trying to match our little hat with our shirt a little bit here. Bill Ing, what's good? Teray 2K, my guy. Yes, they are grind, Bill. DJ Davis, what's up? Frank Kill you, what's good? The goods, my man, bro. How you feeling? How you feeling, man? How you feeling? JJ Creates, Kush Mayhem, what's going on? I appreciate y'all, everybody. Astro Logan, I appreciate everybody popping through. I'm gonna jump into these questions. I got 10 of them, and just like I did last week, I try to, elaborate on everything that people have asked. Pretty much. This mic is giving me an issue though. We gotta get this right. I don't know what's that. I think that's better. Living Legend, what's good? Razor, how you feel, bro? Hope you're having a good day too, man. So let's do this. Let's jump into it. First question. This one comes from, I don't like that look. Let's do this look. It's about the questions. It's not about me. CK Streams comes through with the first question, and he says, Mazique speaks, curious to know what's on the wish list for a college hoops game. We're probably too far out at this point, but one day. Honestly, man, I really think that 2K will probably drop college hoops 2K. I would think maybe next year. If it's not next year, then we're probably looking at college hoops 2K24. But I'm gonna call it college hoops 2K23, which would mean that it would come out in 2022. So, Frank, I appreciate your support from Germany, but that's just what I think. But here's the thing: one of the main things that they're going to have to do, 2K, when I say this, is they're going to have to figure out, like, from a resources standpoint, how are they going to dedicate, because a different team has to work on the game, right? So obviously we'll probably run on the same engine as 2K, but there's going to be some differences. So I would think that a different team would work on the game. Now, they already have a whole nother team that they had that worked on current gen version of NBA 2K21. So I think they may have the people already in place for this. But this question itself inspired me to drop what I want to call my I'm going to call it my college hoops 2K23 wish list. So this is like the stuff, in my opinion, that if they're going to do a college hoops game, which I believe is going to happen in light of everything that we've seen with the NCAA and players being able to be paid. And we're going to talk a little bit about college football a little bit later on. But this is what I think needs to be in the game if they're going to really, really hit a college hoops game up the way it needs to be. So the number one thing for me is a scouting component, right? You got to have a scouting component, because that's really kind of how this whole thing, like, if you're talking about a college basketball, college game, period, You need that. You need like the scouting in a professional franchise mode, like for a Madden or 2K, is important, but is for whatever reason, it's not quite as important to the overall quality of a dynasty mode. Like when you're recruiting high school players to try to get them to come to your school. So scouting like the best college basketball players in the world or in the nation or whatever, having that component in there, you have to, I mean, they have to put a lot of work into that port. I almost want to say that that is, for me, the most important component. The second most important component, or I don't know even know if I want to rank these, but I would say this definitely is right there. If it's going to be college hoops 2K and it's going to be made obviously by 2K, you really need to be able to export the draft class to NBA 2K. Now, I will give 2K so much credit for the way they handled the exit of college hoops from the whole stratosphere, because originally the way they used to have it was college hoops 2K7 and 8. I can't remember if it went back further than that, but you could take the graduating classes off of the old college hoops games and upload them into NBA 2K. But then, so obviously in 2007, that was the last time we saw a college hoops game. What NBA 2K did at that point was allowed you to create your own draft classes, which kind of helped fill that gap as far as it was connecting to NBA 2K. But if you're going to bring college hoops back, that is a must. It's a must. And I would like to see it in year one. I really wouldn't want to have to wait. You know, you're going to have a lot of people frustrated if you make them have to wait for the second and third iteration of the college hoops game to have that incorporated. My number 3 thing is college atmosphere. This is important because one of the biggest things that sets the NBA game apart from the college game is almost as much as the rule set differences, you know, shorter 3-point lines and all of that. And almost as much as that is just college basketball games feel different than NBA games. A lot of times the venues are smaller and more intimate. It's louder. You have the band music and all this different kind of stuff that's going on. The crowd looks different. Just everything looks and feels different. Some of the offense, many of the offenses are different because of a longer shot clock. Everything's different. So that atmosphere needs to be felt in a different way. The number 4 thing I have is customizable conferences and rules. So I know the Big Ten is the Big Ten, the Pac-12 is the Pac-12, and the Big East is whatever, and all of that, all of those different things. I know the makeup. But one of the things that I feel like is important in franchise modes, and essentially a dynasty mode is the equivalent of a franchise mode in a college sports game, is the flexibility and the customization. Now, this is where you could potentially run into an issue, maybe with the NCAA or something like that, or maybe the schools themselves. Maybe the schools are like, we don't want the people to be able to move our new schools around. Maybe or may or not happen. I don't know. But as long as they're not blocked legally from doing this, I would love to see you be able to customize conferences, because let's be honest, there's a couple schools and different things that are not part of a conference that should be, or geographically they don't line up as like in a way that makes sense. Maybe if you can make your own super conferences and stuff like that, I think that would be really dope. And then just being able to customize the rules. So maybe if you want to play, like, okay, we changed the college rules. If you want to do this, to play with different shot clocks, take the 3-point shot away, different things like that. Very similar to what they allow you to do in NBA 2K with adjusting and playing with the rules. I think that would be pretty dope. My next thing is a strong player editor. We've seen, to me right now, if you look at all of the sports video games and you look at all of the creative player models, creative player suites, WWE 2K has the best one. But I would say second to that, and probably most applicable from a traditional sports standpoint, is MLB The Show. you can pretty much make just about anybody you want to make in MLB The Show. Just like for the most part, whoever you want to make, you could probably make them, right? So that to me is what you kind of want to emulate if you can. That level of customization is kind of where you want to be with it. So I'm hoping that that's where we land as far as that is concerned. All right, my next thing is, and this is the last thing on this, is create a school. You gotta be able to create your own school if you're going to do College Hoops 2K the right way. You can't just have it where I'm stuck playing Georgetown or whatever. That's what most people are going to play, and that's totally cool. But you need that creative school, just like we really need creative team options and stuff like that, which NBA 2K has, one of the best, if not the best. But creative school is a necessity if we're talking about doing College Hoops 2K 23, 24, whichever one you want to call it, if you're talking about doing it the right way. So like I said, I'm gonna try to blow out these answers just like I did last week and come up with the best kind of responses for you guys. All right, so my next question, this one comes from Sam I am. Sam, sometimes I'm trying to figure out what Sam is saying exactly and what question he's asking me, but I think I got it. Sam says, why aren't custom defensive setting and playbooks not an option in NBA 2K22? Man has always let you customize a playbook, and because I'm a play now online guy, and even for my team, this would cause me as to use all of the timer, which should be 5 minutes to adjust in the game. So basically, he's talking about being able to customize the defensive settings in 2K just when you're playing traditional 5-on-5, right? So this got me thinking. And for me, this is a huge need. We're talking about a humongous need for NBA 2K22 as it relates to the defensive settings in the game. I'm going to tell you there's like 4 or 5 things in NBA 2K21 gameplay that kind of like drive me crazy. One of them is the defensive settings and the overall defensive AI. But one of the things, man, I'm going to tell you, first of all, the defensive settings don't really work, right? They work for a possession or 2 or 3 or 4, and then you haven't changed anything, and you're looking like, why are they not running what I said run anymore? I told them to trap, or I told them to do this, or I told them to pick up the, I extended the defense here, I did this, whatever, and they're not doing it. And so you're like, well, what's going on? And so then you just end up saying, I'm not going to call anything at all because they're not going to do it. And me thinking that they're going to do it is only handicapping me because I'm expecting this player to do this and he's not going to do it. So that drives me crazy. But one of the biggest things, man, is being able to give players individual assignments, right? So, and this would be something I would especially do with bigs, right? So say, for instance, I got a shot blocker and I'm talking about, say I got Rudy Gobert, right? And I don't necessarily want to, off ball with Rudy Gobert, but I do want to make Rudy Gobert prioritize protecting the rim. So if I would like to be able to give Gobert a command in the settings that says protect the rim, him specifically, I want to be able to go to each player and tell them something like protect the rim, or go to them and say something like double team star player when he gets the ball, or because I want to send the double from this particular player every time. Because if I am choosing a defensive assignment and say I am choosing a guy, I'm choosing the defender of a player who's not a good shooter, that's where I want to send the double from most times. And because if I know that the double is coming from that player every time, I can kind of pre-rotate myself to try to cover that gap in the event that when he comes to double, the player, his assignment then cuts to the basket. Then I can kind of work around that. That's not really in place right now. There's nothing, no, it's not complex enough right now to be able to handle that. But I think from a basketball standpoint, these are very important things to be able to do to really kind of have an intelligent defense be able to be played. A lot of it, yes, is in some of the just the gameplay mechanics. Like you can't really cut a player off. Offensive players have too much stamina per possession, and even when they get tired, it doesn't impact them enough. So it's very difficult to guard anybody, especially if it's a player. Don't get a talented person on the sticks controlling a really, like a player who has speed or handle. It's nearly impossible to guard them. And it should be tougher to guard them. But in 2K, it's borderline impossible. And I think a lot of it is the mechanics of the game, but other parts of it is because I can't scheme up my defense in an intelligent enough way to try to make it tougher on the offensive player. And that's one thing that I miss. Another thing that I want to be able to give this is kind of going into that, team-wide instructions for containing one player, right? So say I'm playing the Brooklyn Nets, which if you play online, that's going to be something that happens a lot. And Kevin Durant's just destroying me, right? He's just giving me the business. And so, I want to say, okay, say for whatever reason, he's not shooting threes well, he's getting to the basket. I want to be able to tell my team every time Kevin Durant comes to the basket, I want the closest defender, every closest defender, so everybody on the same side of the floor as him, I want them to essentially set up some sort of wall similar to the way Giannis is defended. This is a team-wide instruction for containing Giannis. Or this is I can get 2 or 3 guys and they have a specific instruction for how to contain Giannis. This is the kind of defensive instructions that coaches give their teams when they're trying to slow down a great player. But we can't really do that right now. So in 2K, and that's like, to me, one of the biggest things. So that question from Sam is really kind of inspired me to come at it with that particular answer. So yeah, that's one of the most frustrating things about 2K gameplay right now to me, is the lack of instructions that I can give, just the lack of control I have on defense. All right, my next question, this was actually a double dip here. This comes from VMaz, who is actually a YouTuber, I believe, in France, so I appreciate the support. And then and Justin Tidwell, we're talking WWE 2K, and I'm going to tell you guys now, there's a lot of questions in here about WWE 2K, which is cool because people are excited about the game. VMaz just said, talk about WWE 2K22. He begs me. All right, you got it, bro. You got it. Justin Tidwell says WWE 2K22. I really hope they bring back the 2K19 controls for WWE 2K22 because the 2K20 controls were trash. So it's very interesting that you say that, right? So I went to a different kind of down a certain type of road to answer or to address both of these questions. And what I'm going to tell you right now about WWE 2K22 is that I would expect the controls to change in a major way. Like I'm telling you, I really believe that you're going to see something with controls that mimic either 2K19, which will probably be the easiest thing for them to do. But I also think that you're talking about having it harken back to the old Aki Nintendo 64 wrestling games, right? So let's talk about this. So I feel like what you might see is something that focuses more like a rock, paper, scissors concept when it comes into locking up and who gets their move off first. Now, I do think there'll be factors that'll be weighted in there that says, okay, well, you get a chance to do your grapple move first because you chose this command, which beats this person's command. And then there'll be some other factors based off the size of the wrestler, the energy or whatever. This is just what I believe. I don't know this for a fact. This is just what I think is going to happen. And I think different elements like that will kind of decide who gains the advantage on certain gameplay things. That because the old school games, that's kind of how the wrestling moves worked. Another thing is I think you'll see some timing controls, almost like quick time events, but not going into the full cinema screens like that. I think staying with the base wrestling look on the screen, but with some of those types of elements is what I expect to see when it comes to the gameplay and the controls with WWE 2K22. Because a lot of people, and I've said this over and over again, and I'm going to show some screens during this particular stream that to kind of drive home what I'm about to say. I can't ever remember, and I said this, I think maybe last week. I don't ever remember a developer more clearly conveying the fact that they were listening to feedback from the community. I don't than what 2K did last summer as they were compiling data for this game. Okay, from the consumer. So I want to say that. And one of the other things I expect is a little to no on-screen HUD. I don't think you're going to see a bunch of bars and meters everywhere. I think only as needed. But I want to show you something. Take a look at this. This is one of the images that Mr. Epilogue, Patrick Gilmore, posted on Twitter. And then it's kind of small in some ways, so I got it blown up about as big as I can get it. But this was the feedback project for gameplay, right? So they had 210 people who, because this was open to everybody, but only certain people, will participate. Everybody will complain, but not everybody wants to participate in the actual resolution of anything. That's just life, right? So there were all of these different forum posts, and there was 42 features who had at least 2 requests. So they literally said, what do fans want, right, in the game? And then they posted the actual results. So I've been making references to this, but I hadn't shown it, right? And so this is one of the things I'm thinking about with gameplay. So the question here that we just looked at from Justin Tidwell was wanting 2K19 controls back. Where if you look here on this chart, according to the feedback that they received, that was the 3rd most requested thing from a gameplay standpoint. It's the gray section here. So you see you got the big green section is others. So this is just people selecting something that came out only one time. So you can't really go with anything that's there because no 2 people selected any of the things that came in this green section. But you look at the blue section where they want weapons interactions. So for people trying to figure out what that means, I think that's chairs clanking together. Somebody has a kendo stick, they swing a kendo stick up, you put a chair up and block it, or 2 kendo sticks clash together. That's it's dope if it's in the game, but I wouldn't have been my first thing. But hey, 9% of the people wanted that, which is the highest percentage. But if you look at, before I get to the part that I'm talking about, look at this graph, right? So people take to social media and they say all this stuff, myself included, about what they want in a game. And you automatically kind of assume that everybody wants the same thing. But just take a look at this graph. You see how many different things were asked for? You don't think that every single person who mentioned every single thing on here really, really believes or thinks that this just has to be in the game. But it just shows you how different a lot of people play the game. Like one person just really wants weapons interactions. Another person wants improved animations the most. Another person wants smarter AI. Another person, just all over the place, right? But the thing I want to show you is right here, this gray section, 7%, which is the 3rd highest percentage, only behind weapons interactions and improved animations. 7% of the people want 2K19 controls back. So because of that, I think it's probably safe to say you probably will see either 2K19 controls back or something really, really similar to it. Because, like I said, there is a certain amount of accountability when you say, okay, here's what I heard you say. This is what you want us to do, right? And then you take a year to go and do it. If you don't do it, then the people who you collected the data from are going to then turn around and go, well, what was that for? So, that's just kind of the way it is. So I think that to me tells me that it's a good chance that might be what we see. All right, let's go to my next question. This one comes from Tay. He says, you think we getting some FIBA or Olympic integration in 2K22? Okay. So at one point, right? At one point, I felt like, yes, like that really might be a thing. But right now, I'm not so sure about 2K22 FIBA returning. We won't know for sure until like we start to see more back of the box kind of stuff starts to hit. One thing I tell you guys to watch for, if it hasn't dropped yet, I haven't seen it. But if a feature list kind of comes out and leaks from GameStop or one of the retailers, because a return of FIBA teams would probably be a back of the box kind of a feature. And so that's something that I would definitely say, watch for that. If you see that pop, then, it will be a major thing. I mean, but I'm going to tell you guys, man, there's people like, I'm going to show you this image. This came from my man, Shua Jota, who is one of the best modders out there, him, Razor, some other guys. But he went through the work of putting together some of the top players from the Euro League. You see they got the patches on them, everything. This is a very realistic render. And so there is definitely a strong community out there that really wants to see FIBA teams, Euro League teams return. So I'm hoping that it happens. Like I said to you guys last week, it's more than just about what I'm gonna play the most or whatever. I definitely would play with them, but I'm not, I won't play with them as much as a person who lives in Spain, as much as a person who lives in Lithuania. I'm not, but those fans of 2K count just as much as I do. So, that's just kind of how I see that. So hopefully it it's there. I'm gonna look at the comments for a second. Frank says who I think is going to win the NBA Finals and who you think is going to be the Finals MVP. I mean, asking for that prediction and when it's 3-2 is kind of easy. I guess Phoenix could win 2 games in a row. But I feel like Milwaukee has the goods now. I feel like they, from a confidence standpoint and going back home, it's a very tough game for Phoenix to win. I believe that Milwaukee has the ability to win even when they don't shoot well because of the size advantages across the board. DeAndre Ayton can only do so much. So I like them winning at home, even if they don't shoot well, as long as they continue to play blister and defense like they did in games 5 and 4. I think they'll be okay. And Giannis is going to be the MVP. Teray said 2K would have completely changed their draft scouts. Yes. Getting one and done prospects right as well. Yeah. John Cena's back here. That was an awesome moment last night for SmackDown. Let's see if there's going to be Mickey Williams going to be Raw. You ESPN for the game. Frank said he missed Umba. I appreciate you, man. I saw you say you was a Dallas Marvels fan. I appreciate that. JJ Craig says it'll be interesting to see if some of the top college athletes get scanned into the game because with exported draft classes, it clash with the selling feature of rookie faces for the next 2K. That will be interesting. I don't know if they'll do that. It might be. Actually, it's funny you said that, JJ. I just thought about that yesterday. How that would happen. I don't know if that would be something that would happen off the top, and I'm okay if it doesn't. I am okay if it doesn't. A regular kind of a render would be dope. Enough for me. It's just you get, someone, they can hire somebody like Razor or like Shijota to do the heads, and it'll look solid, it look really good. So it won't be an issue at all. Yeah, in space says you gotta, it's just so much stuff you gotta do in 2K, man, to make the settings just work properly, right? Living Legend says, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't they have that already unique? They have Jordan rules, boxes, and elbows, and much more. But the problem is a lot of the stuff they have, it don't work though. It don't work, bro. It just doesn't work. And I get frustrated just doing it because it just doesn't work, because you say, didn't I tell them to do this? Why ain't they doing that? So it just, the defensive stuff on 2K just doesn't work right now. What's going on, B Dizzle? I appreciate you, man. You can do it to an individual play. I haven't seen it. Like, I see that they say key on star or whatever, but it doesn't feel like anything changes to me. In space that I play with people who keep their starting five in the whole game. Yes, that's because of the stamina thing online. Chain wrestling thing was kind of cool when it was introduced. Floki 5000 said, yeah, I thought the idea was cool. I thought they could have executed it a little bit better. Weapon interactions, I would assume this is propping up the chair or in the corner or using the chair on their limb. You can do the chair in the corner. You can't use chairs on limbs though, but you can do chair in the corner. Teresa, I refuse to give the GM mode. I refuse to believe the GM mode didn't have 50% of the votes. Right, exactly. But yeah, we're gonna talk about GM mode in a second. But that was only gameplay, so you wouldn't have seen GM mode in that particular screen. So that was only gameplay. So all right, let's jump back to the questions here. My next one comes in from okay, we did this one already. Boom, boom. All right, my next one comes in from the Boxer. He says, any idea when we're getting news on WWE 2K22, a release date, features, or anything? So here we go. We're back on WWE 2K22. And so for me, man, I'm going to tell you, I feel like WWE 2K22 is going to come out the same time that it used to come out, which is the latter part of October. That's my belief. We haven't heard an official date or anything like that, but just everything that I'm seeing would suggest that that's when we're going to see. That's when we're going to see it, right? I feel like SummerSlam usually has been the time for WWE 2K news. And I think there was a thought, and even I thought that this might happen because they skipped a year, that maybe they might change the release cycle. But I think for whatever reason that just didn't happen. And so year over year, I mean, I started really covering the WWE games as a journalist right around the time 2K got the license from THQ. And one of the first events I ever went to for a game was in SummerSlam 2012. And I want to say CM Punk was on the cover, or I can't remember. But it was either Punk or Orton was on the cover. I can't remember which one it was. But it was SummerSlam, and that's when we got all the information. I had a chance to play test the game. We went to SummerSlam. It was a cool time. So I think that we're going back towards that. I don't think we'll see like the big events and stuff like we used to have. Pandemic and just a lot of other stuff has kind of, I feel like, changed that. But that's what I'm thinking about, man. I'm thinking that you're looking at it around that time is when you're going to start to see a flood of information. So I don't think that the info is as late as some people feel it is. I think the thing is, it's about perspective. They didn't have a game last year. And so because they didn't have a game last year, a lot of people are like, well, what's going on? And I understand that. But I feel like the way they're looking at it is just that, all right, we didn't have a game last year. We're not going to have a game. And so we're just going to skip that year entirely and go through this like a whole different situation. So I think SummerSlam is around the time that now, if we don't see something around SummerSlam and we don't have like a release date and cover athletes and all of that kind of stuff, then I'd be like, whoa, what's going on? Things a little weird is happening here. So we'll see. All right. So my next question actually is also about but this is not it. It's also about WWE 2K. And so, like I told you guys, we got a lot of WWE 2K here. Manny Aries says, what areas have been tweaked on the most this year to make WWE 2K22 hit different? Any updates to universe? Appreciate the time. 100. I appreciate you. So I'm using this question as a jump off to kind of tell you guys what I expect to be the biggest changes in WWE 2K22. So we talked about the controls a little bit, and we also talked about some of those screens that they are sharing, right? So I'm gonna go to some more of them. I got a couple more. So we're talking about match types. Look at this: 69 different match types were named in the poll that they did, and the one that got the most is special guest referee. Okay, with 9%. The next highest one was War Games with 7%. And the next one was Buried Alive. And then we got I Quit. Then there's Inferno, Casket Match, Gauntlet, all the way down into the minuscule slats, right? So for me, I'm going to tell you guys something. I feel like GM mode is an absolute lock. There is no way GM mode is not going to be in the game. I just can't imagine that it's not going to be in the game. Based off everything I've seen and heard, it is a 100% lock. WWE 2K22 will not be released without GM mode. That is my stone cold lead lock prediction for this game. Like, if there is any feature at all in this game, any mode at all in this game that I feel 100% confident in telling you without knowing for sure, without having anything sent to me, emailed to me or whatever that says, yes, this is in it, just based off of what I know, what I've heard, what I've read, just in conversation with people within the industry, everything, GM mode's in this game. So I don't think anybody needs to worry if it's going to be in there. Maybe will it do everything they want it to do? I don't know. But GMO is going to be in the game, right? The next thing is you can bet on better scanned models. They know that some of their player models don't look great. And from what I've seen, they got the scanning rigs that are very similar to NBA 2K, what they use for 2K22. And they're taking those around and they're using that to scan the WWE roster. So I think you can bet on that for sure. The thing is now WWE themselves, they don't know anything about making a game at all, right? All they know is that they want the game to be successful and they want to hear from people that, oh, I love WWE 2K. I want to play the game. It's fun. More money, more money, more money. That's what and where they are in the equation, that's all they should care about, right? But what I feel is probably happening is because WWE 2K20 was kind of a failure, and pretty safe to say I think numbers were down and the reputation of the brand took a hit. I think WWE probably came to 2K or vice versa and said, what is it that can be done that will help us make this game better and help people have a better feeling about it? And I think access for scans was one of them. So I think that's something that you're going to see. The next thing is the weapons interactions. It's 9% on this list, man. And they're not going to put this list out with these totals and say, oh, we're just not going to look at it at all. If weapons interactions are not in, expect a detailed explanation as to why they are not. because people are going to pull up these screens that I've been showing you guys and says, we said, and you said that you heard us, that this was the most, so why isn't it in the game? So yeah, I think weapons interactions are going to be in. Next, improved animations. You can bet on it. They're already showing you, like they did a thing about entrances, right? They're already showing you how many more animations they have added just to entrances. There's no way in the world that animations are just to entrances. Now, none of this is to say that the game is going to play better, be more fun, less buggy. All of that stuff was what the major problems was with last year's version. But this is the stuff I'm telling you, you're more than likely going to see as major features in the game. There's going to be more stuff too. I'm pretty sure. I mean, put it like, they crazy if they think that they can roll out a game that is pretty much the same as 2K20 and everybody gonna go, okay, cool. No, man, they wouldn't be telling people it hit different and all this kind of stuff if they didn't have plans. Now, that doesn't mean the plans are gonna work, but you can bet there's plans, right? The next thing is cross-network creation sharing. So I think that that's gonna happen. Here, I'm gonna bring up my last little statistic screen here. There is no other feature across all of these statistics. I don't have the screen for GMO, but I can tell you the GMO was up there really high too. But there is no other feature close to this. What is this? 25, a quarter of the people who chimed in about community creations want cross-network community creation. So what is that? That means that, so first of all, the people who create stuff on WWE 2K in that community are from another planet. They are great at using the tool in their game. So, but the problem is some of the people who are really, really good at it do it on Xbox and not on PlayStation, and vice versa. We're seeing already I'm telling you, you know what game kind of calls out sports gamers a lot without calling them out? MLB The Show kind of calls people out, right? So you can't, but 2K does it too. So I will say that 2K does stuff in NBA 2K that you look at other games and be like, why ain't y'all doing that? 2K is doing it. But the show will get you, right? The show will shame some of these developing teams, right? Carryover saves, even though they took it out. Man, the show came out with carryover saves and had Madden people looking at EA like, had NBA 2K people looking at 2K like, well, and you know what I'm saying? And so with the show, I don't know how many of y'all notice, but the show is not just cross-platform. It's cross-platform and cross-generation sharing when it comes to creative players, logos, all of the creation stuff. I like literally you can have Xbox One and create a player, a logo, or whatever, upload it to the vault, and I can have a PlayStation 5 and have access to it. How do I know this? First, I was told this. Secondly, I did it myself. So like I told you guys, I've been playing and walking on the treadmill and playing the game, even though I've slacked off over the last week. But I've been doing that, right? One of the things I do when I'm on the treadmill, I have an Xbox Series S in my basement by my treadmill. So that's my treadmill console. Well, I have MLB The Show on there through the Xbox Game Pass. I go on there, I create, I use that time sometimes to create players for a custom roster that I'm working on for the show. I come upstairs to my PlayStation 5. I can download the exact thing that I made in the basement on a whole nother console platform seamlessly. It does give you some weird little error when you try to save any kind of player that you upload, but it saves. You don't have, it looks like it didn't, but it did, right? So I say that to say, the show is already showing you can do not only cross generation sharing, but cross platform generation, no sharing. So for me, man, I'm feeling like WWE 2K really needs to have that. That's just me. So that whole cross network creation sharing is a big thing, and I think it should be in there. And like I said, if it's not, expect an explanation because it ranked too high on this here list for it not to get in. All right, so let's go to our next question. This one comes from Gamer Champ. He says, when EA Sports College Football drops on the PS5 and Xbox Series X, don't forget to include FCS and HBCU schools, just like you had them on the PS2 consoles. It ain't nothing like college football. Mazique speaks what you think. So I feel like I don't know, man. I really don't know if that's going to be there. I'm wondering how many teams EA College Football is going to have, especially in its first year. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I think all FBS schools will be there. So all of the major colleges, everybody who has a somewhat realistic chance to play in the college playoff will be in. So 100 and some odd schools, like what you saw in NCAA 14. I think those teams will be there. I know there's some discussion right now whether or not, Notre Dame will be in and all of that. But with what just happened with the Supreme Court ruling that college or collegiate athletes can profit off their likenesses, with that now in place, I think that was really the last true impediment standing in the way of anything. Like, I think it's all open now, man. I think the only thing, and we talked about this a few minutes ago, the only thing that I'm saying, okay, that might not get in is the scanning of the collegiate athletes, at least just not yet. But I do think that you might see EA might come to, the top 10 college football players in the nation. I don't know who that'll be after this upcoming season. So season after this one, they may come to those guys and be like maybe 5 or 6 of them and literally scan them, have them on the cover or whatever. But as far as widespread scanning, it's already tough to scan the 53-man roster in the NFL. And we're talking about 32 teams. Imagine rosters that same size, if not bigger, and for 100 and some odd schools. It's just not going to happen. Now, you could say, okay, well, we'll scan the first 22 or the first 30 guys, and I think people would love that. If some red shirt freshman is not scanned who doesn't play that much, I don't think people are going to cry. If some 5th-year senior who still on the team, even though he hurt himself senior year and is not an NFL prospect and doesn't play, isn't scanned, I don't think people will be too upset about it. But I don't expect widespread scanning, but I do expect all of the teams to be in the game once it finally drops. As far as HBCU and FCS schools, honestly, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if they were in. I don't know what the legal situation is there, though. I don't know. I feel like some of those schools, especially some, because obviously those schools don't have the same funding as the Alabamas and the Ohio States and the major, humongous universities with these multimillionaire boosters and alums and things like that. They don't have the same funding. So it would seem to me that they would want to be involved. So I wouldn't think that, Howard and Alcorn State are saying no to the EA. I would think that they definitely are saying yes, but I think, there's other aspects of that whole conversation that I am not aware of. So I cannot speak from an informed standpoint on that. But my gut tells me I don't think they'll be included, especially not in the first year. We'll see what happens after that first time it's brought back. All right, so the next question, and okay, this is the same one. Why do I keep forgetting to to move this on. I'm attached to these questions or something. But my next question comes from Teal with it. He is a Jags fan. Any chance they re-add a Tony Bruno like show podcast, Rich Eisen or NFL Network? He's talking about to Madden, that they had in Madden, as well as an updated version of the newspaper recap after the game. Now, it is really funny and cool that you brought this up, Teal, with it, because I'm going to talk to you about, and you see this. Now, this is not a typo. It says Madden 23. I know Madden 22 is coming out next month, but I'm going to tell you something. We've already seen pretty much what franchise mode, what the whole interface looks like in Madden 22, and it's improved. It is. The presentation itself, we've kind of already seen it. So it's not really this major reveals. If you played the play test, if you've seen anything, screenshots or whatever from the play test, if you saw the franchise mode deep dive, you know what it looks like. I'm looking at Madden 23 as being the version of the game that starts to kind of do some distancing from old Madden games and really kind of breaking some new ground, right? So the first thing I want you guys to understand, and if you don't know this gentleman, you should. EA hired a gentleman by the name of Deuce Douglas to work on franchise mode. And I think this was just maybe 6 to 8 months ago. He just made the announcement on social media himself. And so I don't know if you know him. He has a YouTube channel. It only ended up having like 6,000 subscribers. He don't need it no more because he's doing work, right? So he totally gets it. Okay. He totally gets it from a franchise mode standpoint, right? And one of the things that if you look at his YouTube channel, now mind you, this person is now working on franchise mode with EA. But if you look at his YouTube videos and you pay attention, and they're detailed and long, and they're really for hardcore franchise people. But he is a proponent of using assets that are already in the game to improve the franchise HUD, right? And so I'm going to show you a few mock-ups that he did that kind of show you. And now you're going to see these screens and you're going to swear they're from a Madden version that you just haven't played. This is just how talented and like visionary type of skills that Deuce Douglas has. Take a look at this. This is not like a Madden screen. This is, you see this Madden Weekly over here? My man created, and I love the Aaron reference to Key and Peele skit. But my man took and created his own in-game Madden magazine. And if you listen to his video, I'm gonna try to put the link to it in. I just thought about that actually. I should have put the link to the video in the description. I'll probably go back and add that in retrospect. But he has created this magazine that works as like the front for your information HUD inside of franchise mode. And so you look at it, it's not a loss. Cleveland ends their 18-game losing streak in the weirdest way possible as they tie the Steelers 21-21. Captain Kirk Cousins throws for 244 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Vikings start the year on a strong note. So this is not even going crazy, right? And delivering some stuff that we've never seen before. This is all these screenshots and everything. This is all stuff that's already in the game. And the verbiage that I'm giving you is not verbatim to what Deuce Douglas said, but it's essentially me paraphrasing what he said in the videos, talking about, you know, his vision for it. And this is obviously before he was working there, right? So, and I'm quite sure what we're looking at here has a lot to do with him getting hired, right? So here's another page of Madden Weekly. It has 2018 season predictions for MVPs, divisional winners. So the in-game magazine has these pages that you can flip and continue to look at all this stuff. And I'm telling you, for me personally, as a franchise person, I would probably at the end of every game, I would go in to look at this to see what images or whatever was there. Would it be dope? Obviously, if they had, some highlights and stuff of games. We're going to get into that in a minute, a little bit later in a couple questions. But this is something that I want you to kind of understand. The person who did these mock-ups now works for EA on Madden franchise. So if you're wondering what the franchise mode HUD might look like down the road, I think this is a pretty good indication. I think that, like I said, it's an outside chance we see some highlights from the previous week in Madden 23, right? Now, previously, I do know that EA said, back in NFL 2K, it was only like a collection of 12 to 16 plays you kept watching over and over again. I'm gonna be honest with you, I barely even noticed or recognized that. All I know was that I felt like I was involved in the entire season, and I looked forward to the weekly wrap-up show. I looked forward to the halftime show. I watched it. I literally watched it. I don't watch it anymore with Madden because it's not going to show me anything. So just something to keep in mind. I don't watch it. So, and don't they want us to watch it? Just think about it from a monetary standpoint. And because this, whenever you're trying to get a business to do something that you want them to do, you got to think about it from a monetary standpoint, right? Think about the fact that EA could say, we're going to do a full out halftime show that we want people to watch. Well, how can we monetize that without, of course, pushing off money on the consumer? Madden 23 halftime show powered by T-Mobile. Madden 23 halftime show powered by Logitech. And essentially what you do is you have your halftime show, you blow it out, you make it good, you make it to a point where people are going to want to watch it. And you say, hey, Logitech, hey, T-Mobile, Madden's a pretty big deal, sells millions and millions of copies every year. We have so and so and so and so amount of online users, and so amount of offline users. We could drop, we can make you the official sponsor of our halftime show, and your name and logos all over this bad boy. Here's the amount. Here's the fee for having this advertising space. And I don't know if anybody can tell you'll be in front of more people than we can by giving you this. They're going to be able to sell that. And you have T-Mobile flashing on and off throughout. I mean, just think about the way you watch the real NFL. All of that stuff is powered by this company. This is how the networks monetize the different segments of a football game that you watch. I think that one of the biggest things or best things that EA can do, and even 2K can do, and 2K already does it to a degree, one of the biggest things that they can do is look at their in-game sports presentation as a network. We have our own network, like a broadcast network. And in some instances, the numbers that we can do can just about rival what a network is getting for just having a real life IRL game, and flip that and turn that into presentation, turn that into worthwhile presentation and a monetary gain. And so that at that point, maybe it becomes more important to them to do the type of presentation that franchise mode people want, because you can sell this on how many viewers. That's how you sell advertising. You sell advertising by how many eyeballs can you promise a company will be on their product if they pay for this spot. And to me, that's the best of both worlds. All right, my next question comes from Dan. Easy does it. He says, any guesses on the esbc launch date? Yeah, at this point, man, it's going to be a guess, but I am going to give you an answer on this, right? In my opinion, if we're trying to figure out when Esports Boxing Club is going to release the new boxing game, that if you're into boxing at all, you've probably heard of. You've talked about it or whatever. I don't know. I think there's definitely a chance it could come out this year, but if you're looking at your watch, it's getting kind of late. Now, I'm not worried about the game itself, right? I'm not worried about, oh my God, is it going to come out? Is this going to be another example of one of those boxing games that we've been talking about? And oh my God, and they showed us some graphics and it got further along than all of the other boxing games that we heard about, but it just didn't make it out. I don't think that this is, I do 100% believe, I believe that the game is coming out, right? But there are some things that you got to consider, right? This game is getting a lot of attention at this point, and more than likely getting a lot of attention from huge organizations. If you just look at where they started, I don't know how many of y'all saw what this game used to look like the first time it was announced. It didn't look nothing like it looks the latest screens that they gave us, right? And so the part of the reason why the project has gotten bigger and better is because they have started to work with all these other different companies. 1024 was not a part of the project from the very beginning. 1024 is, the studio that is responsible for, wasn't Death Stranding, I think it's called. And the visuals in that game are amazing. And I think they had a lot to do with the overall visual improvement of what you see in ESBC. So that's just one huge organization, or one organization that we know about. You got to think that with the buzz that it's been generating and the names that are being associated with it, that there are more people, more organizations that are getting involved and want a piece of this. That could lead to the project being bigger overall. And I wouldn't be shocked if it's already bigger, way bigger than what we thought. And as it grows and then there's more people involved, it could push the release date back. But ultimately, it will probably result in the game itself just being better. And if the game does get to that point where I'm talking about it's on a fight night level or on a EA UFC 4 level, like that, in terms of the overall grandness of the project, then the game is going to need like its own hype train build up. See, right now they're essentially showing us screenshots and some videos, and there's a long form trailer that should be coming out at some point shortly, I believe. But there's no like definitive stuff about release dates. If this project gets huge, once that definitive thing drops about the release date, if there's major, like a lot of different organizations involved, they're going to want a build up, and so then that way they can do their own marketing and they can, show Canelo, in a commercial or something, get on advertising for some big fights that are coming up, get on, these different networks, that are broadcasting fights or streaming fights. They're going to want to build this hype train up to the point where it's not just hardcore boxing fans that know about it. Everybody knows this game is coming, right? And we're not at that point. So to me, I wouldn't be surprised if the game didn't come out to next year, so that it will have the type of hype that I think is justifiable for where it looks like the game is headed. So that would be my prediction sometime next year, at this point, because we're at the end of July and things will have to move very swiftly for it to come out. I mean, a lot of people don't even like, you think about it like this, right? If it's not out yet and we don't have a release date yet, it absolutely would not want to compete with Madden, a release date, a release time right there. It would not want to be anywhere in September where we got FIFA, NHL, and NBA 2K. Okay. October is probably going to run into WWE 2K. And do people already have their Christmas list set? And this late entry especially wins. And I think that it would not at that point. So to me, if you look at like the early part of next year, you can major release, especially on the sports calendar, would it be competing with? And if you look at the sports video game release calendar, the only big time sports release, and this is only really big in America, is MLB The Show. Comes out in late March 27th through April 1st, like is usually when it comes out. So if they were to say this game is coming out in January and February, they would have that whole time to themselves. You probably don't want to do January, more February, because you want people to get a chance to get their money back together after Christmas. But probably somewhere like February, early March, that seems like a really realistic time for me to if just using what I've learned from the sports video game industry. That would make more sense to me. I would be shocked if I heard about a release date towards the end of the year. I'd be shocked and even a little concerned, to be honest. But doesn't mean it'd be bad, but I would be a little surprised. All right, my last question of the day. This one comes from Teal with it as well. He says, any chance EA will ever add alternating broadcast booths for enhanced realism, just like if you went from watching an NFL game on CBS to Fox, or a 1 p.m. game to a 4 p.m. game on or Sunday night, Monday night? This is about Madden, of course. All right, so some of y'all asked me questions, y'all sent me off on a tangent, and I appreciate that because it helps me create a little bit better content. So what I did based off of this, I don't really know. I don't believe that exactly how you just talked about in that question would be how the presentation stuff would work. And this should say Madden 23, because I don't believe any of the things that I'm about to mention to you have a chance of making it in Madden 22 because it's already pretty much there. But I did come up with a list of 5 presentation elements that I think would blow fans away if they had these. And I don't think that most of what I'm about to share with you is like beyond the scope of reality, right? So this is probably the most impractical one. And I wouldn't even say impractical, but just, oh my God. All of y'all, if you're football fans, you're familiar with Red Zone, more than likely. Red Zone, if you're not, is part of the NFL Network, and it is a connected stream kind of thing. It's hard to explain, but you watch one channel and they give you live updates and pop-ins on every active game. Anytime a teams are in the red zone, which is hence the name of the show or the channel, it shoots to that game. If there's multiple games in the red zone, you get double, triple box. And, teams, if somebody just scored, you see that. You jump back and forth if there's a major injury or whatever's having. But when you sit down, especially so the way I do it is, obviously I'm a Bears fan and I cover the Patriots for heavy.com. But the way I do it is I'll watch my game. So I'm watching either the Bears or the Patriots. When they both play at the same time, it is really quite the calamity in my house on Sundays in the fall. But I have my game on and I have Red Zone on another television, but I'm not paying as much attention to it as I am my game. But so if my game is at noon, or it's noon in Central Time, it's 1 p.m. in Eastern Time, but if my game is the noon game, what I'll do is I'll watch my game, and then at 3, I'll flip to Red Zone, and that's how I experience the rest of the league. And I'm thinking if they had an option for you to go through a red zone kind of a coverage, obviously it'd be sped up, right? So you don't want to sit there for 3 hours. So if you're controlling the Bears in a franchise mode, and you are your game's over, and so the 3 o'clock games haven't been played. So they say, would you like to go to the 3 p.m. games or whatever, the 4 p.m. games, depending on your time zone? Would you like to go to the 4 p.m. games and experience it red zone, red zone style? You can literally go for a 15-minute simulation and it pops back and forth showing the games. Oh my God. That would blow me. I would just sometimes I'd hurry up and speed through my game so I could watch the red zone simulation thing with them popping in and out of different games. It would just be insane. Like, oh my God. You want to talk about something that would blow franchise up, like with franchise mode people, that would just knock people off their feet, I believe. I'm gonna look at the comments and see what you guys are saying, but that, oh my God, that would be ridiculous. All right. My second thing is a halftime show with connected commentary. I've talked about this before. Nothing personal against Jonathan Coachman, because it's not him. It's just the fact that they don't have access to people to constantly update it. And he's not watching enough plays to give the kind of commentary for a halftime show that matters. And the whole structure just isn't there, right? The 2K5 halftime show had literally Chris Berman saying he passed the ball to so-and-so for a 47-yard touchdown. And look at him go, breaks outside, jukes to the left or whatever. And it had the commentary that it sounded like he was talking about this play. Sometimes with the Coachman halftime show, he could just be talking about anything, and that's why you button through it, because it just isn't fleshed out. And that's one of the biggest reasons people button through it. Some people are just not halftime show people, period. Those are more like competitive gaming people, but that's not usually a franchise mode person. A franchise mode person generally will watch a good halftime show. If it ain't good, they ain't gonna watch it. All right. So the next thing is a weekly wrap-up show. I've talked about this earlier today, talked about this for years, literally. The weekly wrap-up show would be crazy, but you got to do it right, right? Got to do it right. I need top 5 plays. I need top performers. We need key injuries that have taken place. We need trade talk. We need, this person's unhappy with their playing time. We need positional battle conversations, especially through the preseason. That would make you really actually pay attention to the preseason. And then we need the look ahead to the week ahead. If you had that, and the standings and leaders, if you had those components in your weekly wrap-up show, and the only thing that needs to be video is the top 5 plays. So they saved the top 5 plays. And I talked about before, I believe this tech is available now. I mean, they had a weekly wrap-up show in 2K5. And like they said, maybe they weren't showing that many plays, but I believe it's there now, because I mentioned this in a previous stream. If you do Simcast in 2K, and we're talking about even on PlayStation 4, if you do Simcast, the game is going by real fast. You can see the little dots moving around or whatever if you do the blimp cam thing, but the game is actually being played. And if you go in and look at the highlights, there are actually highlights to everything that happened in that game. So the game is still being played and it's still generating highlights and replays. If you place a gamer score or a play score on every play, which is something that Madden already does, that needs to be tweaked a bit, but that's something that they already do. So in the engine, you say, all right, we simulated the game, whatever plays that came out that the play score algorithm scored over 700, we're going to make, or the top 5 highest scored plays in the game are going to be a part of the highlight reel for that particular game. And then you go and say, okay, well, the top 5 scored games of all the simulations are going to be a part of the weekly wrap-up show for across the entire league. And if we're worried about data and storage, the game only saves the top 5 scored games, everything that the top 5 scored plays. So everything else that's not there, kind of it gets deleted or dropped from storage, the online storage, whatever, the cloud storage or console storage, whatever, it gets dropped, and it only keeps the top 5 highest scored plays. And it keeps that so you can go back and watch it. And then you have your plays of the year at the end with the top 5 highest scored plays that are kept. So I don't know. Maybe there's something that I don't know, I don't understand, but that seems like that would is a system that would work. I'm telling you guys, I love being a writer, right? I love being a writer, love being a content creator. But one of my biggest dreams is to be a part of a franchise mode or be a part of creating a sports video game. I don't care, which company it is. Like, really, I really love what EA is doing. I've loved what 2K is doing. 2K is seems to be the most traditionally open to franchise mode, which is where most of my passions are, even though I really am digging Diamond Dynasty quite a bit on MLB The Show. But that's like a box that I definitely want to check in my life, in my professional life. I want to, because I do believe that I have some decent ideas about this stuff. And so what I'm missing is the specifics of how to implement. And I believe that if I got those specifics and say, okay, well, this is how the system works. So can you figure out a way within this system to make these things that you're talking about come true? I think if you gave me those parameters, I think I could come up with stuff that was even just as cool as my musings or more, if I knew what we were working within. So, but my next thing is a better injury presentation. I've been talking about this. EA, I believe they're going to get to it. I mean, they literally called it out directly, talking to me in an interview, saying, "Man, you asked about this for 3 years in a row." But I mean, man, like I said, man, just in franchise mode only. Stop telling people the full extent of the injury within 5 minutes. It's not good for immersion. It's just not how it's not how football works. It's not how any sport works. You get clues based off of what you see in IRL. When a guy gets carted off, it ain't good. It's probably a severe injury. Very rarely is it not if a guy gets carted off. If a guy hops off, limps off, walks off under his own power, you get an idea. It's probably not too bad. Maybe it might be a thing that he could get re-injured. If he has to get helped off, he probably done for the game. Like if people are hopping off with him, he's probably done for the game, but it might not be that bad. These are indications, but there could be a time period where you get a surprise, and it's like, oh man. So there's 3 different exits of the game, right? You got walks off under his own power, helped off by teammates or coaches. Literally, they sent out the cart. So those 3 different visual presentations of the injury. And then there is another algorithm that spans out from those 3 different presentation elements that determine, more than likely, we know if he walks off under his own power, it's probably not going to be super serious. Usually the most he's going to miss is 2 to 3 weeks. If he got to get helped off, could be serious, could be season ending, but it's probably more about 4 to 6 weeks. And depending on where you are in your season, maybe that is season ending. Then there's the cart. More times than not, he ain't playing no more this season when you see the cart, or he's going to be out for a long time. So you better be very, very early in your season for him to even have a chance to come back. But sometimes there's a surprise. Oh my God, it's nowhere in the air as bad as we thought. He's only going to miss a week. That stuff right there, those kinds of stories are just ridiculously dope for franchise mode. That's what you want. And if you bring in that type of presentation, that's what you get. And you're only, like, Deuce was so smart about this, because you're using only the assets that are already in the game. It's just about the way you present them. And so it's not like you got to create all these whole new things. It's just the way you present them. And so I think that is the way that I want to see the injury presentation. I also want to see the play that the player got injured on. And I would like for it to matter and make sense, I should say. So if the guy injured his leg, I want there to have been some contact to his leg, unless you tell me it was a non-contact injury, which of course we know those are hardly ever good. They're usually going to mean they're going to be out for a while. So I want to see the better presentation with the injury as it happens. And I also want to see better presentation for after it happens and the way the information is rolled out. So my last thing on this bit, we did this injury presentation. My last thing is improved NFL draft presentation. It's real bad right now, y'all. Anybody that's played Madden and gone through a whole season knows that the that the draft presentation is not good. NBA 2K does a pretty good job with their draft presentation. You get screens that come up, that shows the player in the new jersey. You get some mock social media interaction. I think that's pretty solid. I think I would like to hear players' names, at least for the first round, announced, because we all know if the NFL draft, first round is the first day. The second day is the second and the third round. And I think the third day is rounds 4 through 7. And so it goes real fast on day 3. It's moving. And it's less production and stuff that takes place on day 3 than there was on day 2. And then there's less production and stuff that takes place on day 2 than happened on the first round. And that would be fine in Madden presentation of the draft. Blow out the first round, scale it back a little for the second and the third, and then literally we can just have names on the screen with, maybe the dude's face and jersey from here down or whatever for the 4th through 7th round. And that would be fine because it's similar to the way the NFL presents the draft. But the first round, man, I want to see a clip of the running back from Colorado taking it to the house if I can, and I don't care if it's the same, if it's just recycled clips, right? I don't care if you got, say you had like 30 different clips that you show per position or per player archetype. So say you got a scrambling quarterback. All right. There's 15 different clips that you might see for a scrambling quarterback that shows him, this is his highlight reel. 15 different clips. Same thing for a pocket passer. Same thing for a balanced quarterback. Now you got a scat back, a smaller, JJ Taylor, Darren Sproles kind of a back. Tariq Cohen. He's got a certain amount of clips and commentary that goes with him. Now, yes, there's only 15 highlight reels per archetype. And, so maybe that's 90 to 100 different highlight reels that are in there. And these are not interacting. These are just straight video on the screen, but it's video of Madden. It's not video, live action video. It's video of Madden that shows during when this person is picked, and it's randomly selected or maybe attached to attributes or whatever to that effect. And, you have these players in college uniforms. All of the games might be conference games or whatever they are. And you show this, and you know how many seasons you'd have to go through before you like seeing like the same clips, especially if you only did it for like the first and the second round. You might go 6-7 seasons before you saw the same clip. And it would just, to me, you want to talk about blowing franchise mode and blowing draft presentation out of the water. That's it right there. That's totally it right there. So I'm hoping that we see something like that. I would, like I said, guys, I ain't gonna even lie. I don't never want to not be. I never want to not be a journalist. It's very much a part of me, who I am, expressing myself. But yeah, I would love to be giving some of these ideas direct. I mean, I get a chance to talk to EA and 2K and give them these ideas, but it's not the same as being on the team. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna even lie. I would definitely welcome it. I'll put it like this. I would listen. I would definitely listen if the opportunity arose. So I'm going to take a quick look at the comments and see how much we can get to here. I see we had stacked up quite a few while I was going through, but that was the last question that I had. Living Legend says, any big 2K news this week? It would seem like that would be the case, right? Cover Athlete drops last week. Probably get some news this week. We'll see. Tune in to me, and I'll have whatever you got for it. Whatever there is to have, I'll have it. Hollywood Sports says, what's good? Hardest working man in sports. What's going on, man? Appreciate you. Any news on Joda's draft class? Yes, I'm gonna have some stuff on it for you guys, Pinoy, and so he did a really good job, and so we'll be showing that off shortly, for sure. Repentant Heart said, will WWE 2K22 have import music feature? I doubt. Well, they might have that. I think that might be something that they do. It won't be shareable. They won't have you. I saw somebody say something about they wanted to be able to do custom video screens for their wrestlers. Yeah, but you would never be able to do that online because people are insane and people will put the most horrible videos they can think of up, and you'd have to watch them, and they would not want that. Adam Gonzalez says the show is really good. Even the fact that we can have our own music. Yes. But it's the thing of it is that only you can hear it. And that's the safe way to do it. Luke Smith says, will WWE 2K22 disappoint? I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know though. It could suck. It could be horrible, but I think they're off to the right start. Its basis. Do you think the show can do it because they're a matchmaking system instead of free roam like 2K? I'm not sure I know which one you're talking about on there, esbc. Luke says, I am getting AEW over WWE 2K22. Repentant Heart says that. He said that to Luke. I want both. So, Teray says, I save the FCS and HBU focus schools for future games. So instead of focusing on that, they can just focus on the actual gameplay and getting it right. I would agree. Repentant Hearts, have not played WWE 2K in a while. Cortland Brown, what's up? When will we see WWE 2K22 gameplay? Like I said earlier, you probably weren't here yet, Gaming Weather, but I think SummerSlam is around the time when it's usually been out there. Luke Smith said, how much do I know about WWE 2K22? I'm pretty kind of much sharing what I got. You guys might have missed the early part of the stream. So that might be, what it is. AJ Taylor said, I would like seeing those end of game situations on other games they had in the early days of Madden. Yes, for sure. Let's see. Floki said, the new box game tight. Is another EA Sports game announcement coming to AEA Play. I tweeted something not long ago, and I said, you know what? What if this announcement that everybody's waiting on has nothing to do with sports at all? And I'm starting to believe that that's the case. I'm starting to believe that I don't think this is going to be a sports thing at all. And some people are going to be pissed, but I really don't think they got any reason to be pissed, because as you go back and read the literature that was put out, nothing really says that they're going to unearth or bring back an old sports game, at least not that I saw. But I don't know where that came from. And even I got caught up in that, but I don't know. I'm not knowing. I don't know. PA Jock says, news. We got to figure it out, man. We got to figure it out. Me and Junior got to figure it out. Both of us have been really busy, and it took a lot of time. Like I couldn't, you saw my channel. I couldn't do any other videos at all but at the time because of how much work it took. I enjoyed it. It's honestly, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. is one of the things, I've done so many cool things with my son, coached him in basketball since he was like 4 years old. And, me and my son, we do a lot of stuff together. That's my dude. But is probably one of the most fun experiences I've had with that boy. It was just great, but it did take a lot. So I don't know. We got to see. Floki 5000 said, loving your insight, Top Minor Sports Gaming. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Freddie Calipari says 2K needs to totally revamp dribbling. Also, shot aim returning. I do think shot aim is going to return. I don't think they really need to revamp dribbling, Freddie. I think they need to adjust stamina. That's the thing. Stamina. Because if stamina is proper per possession and over the course of a game, all of the crazy dribbling and spamming of curry slides backwards and forwards and still greening and all of this stuff after you should be dog tired will have to be kind of curtailed a bit. Now, I'm not talking about Park. Park, you should be able to go buck wild, do whatever you're going to do. It should only be per possession where you get tired. But in the regular 2K game, NBA game, the stamina, making that stamina right will fix a lot. Let's see. Let's see. Luke said, I'm telling more than 2K actually. Presentation in 2K needs to be overhauled. The crowd was changed in next gen, but they are still lame. I think he's talking about WWE. Will EA make another Def Jam by any chance or nah? Luke, I don't think so. If they do, it ain't gonna be Def Jam. It might be some other thing. I think honestly, I'm gonna tell you, man, partnering with rappers now is something that these companies really got to kind of think about, man, because when I was younger, man, and rappers, the MCs and stuff that I came up on, they got in trouble, things happen here and there, you know. But more rappers die in a single year, and more rappers today get negative press. And maybe it's because of social media, maybe, that's what it is. Then in 6 months than what rappers used to get in 5 years. Like Big and Pac got killed. And I'll say it was like Big, Pac got killed, Steady B, Jam Master J, Big L. Pun had a heart attack, so it didn't count. I'm telling you, it doesn't count towards like being like he wasn't murdered. And I think like unless I'm missing somebody, it was a Freaky Tide, not Freaky Tide. Oh my God, the Lost Boys guy. I can't remember his name, but EA is like a major organization, right? If you're gonna sign somebody and have their likeness and stuff in a game, if they get involved in something, now I'm not thinking from my standpoint. I'm thinking about this is the way major businesses function. They thinking about the PR and the marketing aspects of these different types of relationships. And then a lot of the artists in their music, they are pushing, talking about, lean and popping mollies and different, people do what they do, but you got to think about a company, right? I'm not coming from a moral standpoint. I'm talking about a company. Would a company want to put the likeness of that type of player in a game like that? You know what I'm saying? And that's just why I could see a game like that coming out, but I don't know if it'll have rappers in it, not real life rappers, So we'll see. But that's all I got for you guys today. I appreciate everybody for coming through. As always, don't forget to like the video, please. If you haven't liked it yet, please do that. That does matter to me quite a bit. And if you have not yet subscribed, please do that as well. But as always, God bless and peace.